Do sensitive people have more control over their lives than logical people? What sensitive people understand about life is that they can't say somebody made them do something. At least sensitive, intuitive people who are a bit more enlightened. They understand that they are in control of their lives. They understand that they're the ones who need to organize their lives. They are the ones who need to take control, and therefore they have more control. So what types of things do sensitive people get good at organizing? Well, for example, sensitive people tend to have very specific diets. For me, that means being a vegetarian, but for other sensitive people, it could mean being gluten-free, or maybe they're allergic to peanuts, or they have some kind of sensitivity in their diet that they have recognized and decided to organize their lives around. So sensitive people get very, very good at organization. They know if they're stuck at an office meeting and all there is donuts to eat, they usually have a healthy snack prepared. If they know they're going out to dinner in a place where there's a lot of meat, they might call ahead and figure out a vegetarian option that's off the menu so that they are able to eat in mixed company. This is what people with sensitivity do. They don't play the victim when they can't eat what they want or they can't do what they want. What sensitive people also do is make sure they're organizing their relationships so that they're being treated well. So they don't put up with people who want to hook up. They organize their personal lives and understand that when people are behaving a specific way, they're probably not going to change. And they start filtering and organizing these people out of their lives until they find a person who does treat them right. And intuitive, sensitive people are committed and want to make long-term relationships work, sometimes to a fault where things aren't working and they're still following through on that commitment. However, sensitive people, if they get treated badly enough, develop the courage to leave. It may not happen right away because they really want to make the relationship work and they want to make sure that the person involved has been given a fair shot. But after a while, they're continuously being treated badly. They tend to leave those relationships. What sensitive people also do is they make sure that they have time for their priorities, like meditation or creative writing or asking for guidance from angels. Whatever those practices are, sensitive people prioritize these tasks and make sure they do them on a regular basis. Sensitive people develop a crazy discipline muscle because they know how important it is in order to remain in alignment. And what sensitive, intuitive people also do to remain in control of their lives when they're particularly enlightened is they start getting better at organizing their finances. Sometimes sensitive people do get into a bit of trouble with their finances because there are so many compelling things to do with your money that you can overspend. And there are amazing experiences that are worth having. And in fact, sensitive people understand that when they do spend money, the most important thing to spend money on is an experience, is something like travel or education or a high quality conference or experience with other people who are like-minded. But what they don't do is waste money on things like alcohol, smoking, junk food. I mean, it's possible when they're sad, they may indulge in these things sometimes, but they also know that to come out of it and become their best selves, they have to let their addictions go. What sensitive people also don't do is watch a lot of violent programming and therefore become influenced to having a lot of violent thoughts. We don't really indulge in too much gore, and if we are watching something gory with somebody else who enjoys it, we tend to turn away and look away at those parts. This is because we know that if we listen to Marilyn Manson or watch violent movies, that we are prone to getting depressed. That's not to say that there's no room for creativity or no room for violence or destruction once in a while, but having said that, we also know that TV programming and music that's very dependent on shock value probably isn't good for us to constantly listen to or watch. And sensitive people are in various stages of awakening. So fully awakened sensitive people will have these practices in place. They will take control over their lives. But some people who are sensitive are not out of the closet yet. Maybe they still think of themselves like a logical person. They were raised by logical people and they eat the ways that they were raised by their parents, lots of junk food, lots of violent programming. They may or may not be encouraged to go to school, maybe overly competitive in school or no school at all. Whatever argument you want to make on either side, both can be logical arguments made by logical parents. But what sensitive people need to do is learn to back away from those authority figures and those influences in their lives and learn to trust themselves. And as they learn to trust themselves, they backpedal on these habits that they may have accumulated when they're young. And it's the same growing up in a community that's more secular. Sensitive people are encouraged to hook up when they're young. They haven't been taught how to have self-esteem in a relationship and how to look for people who are going to treat them right. And because they haven't been modeled that behavior, it takes some time and self-discovery in order to figure out how to attract the right people into their lives. And so if you have any habits that go against these habits, that go against the good habits sensitive people have to take control of their lives, it's okay. What it could mean is that you're in the process of coming out of the closet. The good news is once you actually come out of the closet, you may feel fearful that you don't fit in. It's like you don't blend with the other people who want to hook up or eat meat, or don't blend in with the people who competitively want to pursue school right up until their PhD. The most primal fear that we have as sensitive people is that we're not going to fit in with the logical people around us, and therefore we're going to be banished, or we're going to be abandoned, or like in the very old days, we're going to become those witches that get burned at the stake. Not to say that sensitive people are witches by any means. They could cross over, but not necessarily. But we are that type of person who can feel vulnerable sometimes to being outcast. But the good news is that in modern society today, we don't have to fear that. There's no need to worry about being outcast or burned or killed or anything like that. We live in very safe times, but we tend to trick ourselves into thinking it's a logical world and it's very dangerous if we come out of the closet and say what we actually need as sensitive people. Whereas that's actually what we need to do the most, because when we don't get what we need, we actually turn into the exorcist when we don't have enough sleep, or we're exhausted or exposed to too much negativity. That's when we tend to really become the nastiest versions of ourselves as sensitive people. And the key is to plan upstream, take control of your life, make sure that you're getting everything that you need. And when you're able to take care of your own needs like that as a sensitive person, that's when you really have that opportunity to shine and become your best version of yourself.